Hey YouTube, Neck here bringing you my Kogake Forma build. To start things off, you'll want to toss the catalyst in this weapon for double the mod capacity. You'll only require one Forma for this build. I recommend that you use it on a single V polarity slot. The first mod you equip will be Pressure Point. The Kogake have really awesome advantages for being used as normal attacking melee weapons, rather than typical charge attack weapons. The Kogake damage type is Physics Impact, which is Armor Ignore. But it's only armor ignore for normal attacks, so charge attacking, especially against high level mobs, will lower the amount of damage you could be doing. Next up is True Steel and Organ Shatter. Here's more reason you should always be spamming melee instead of using charge attacks. Kogake have a base crit chance of 20%, but if you charge attack, that 20% goes down to a pathetic 5%. If you use normal attacks and have a maxed out True Steel slotted, then you will have 32% crit chance, which is actually very good when you take into consideration how fast the Kogake attack. Furthermore, the Kogake have a base crit damage of 200%, but that is only for normal attacks. If you charge attack, your base crit damage will drop to 150%. With a maxed out Organ Shatter, your crit damage for normal attacks will be 380%. Now let's add some elemental damage. Molten Impact, Focus Energy, Rending Strike. You should switch between these mods depending on the faction you'll be going up against. Molten Impact versus Infested, Focus Energy versus Corpus, and Rending Strike against Grineer. I also want to mention that for this weapon you should be completely ignoring the charge speed and charge damage that these two dual mods give. You'll be using these mods solely for their elemental damage. On other weapons this won't be the case, but these weapons are very unique. You should rarely ever be using charge attacks with the Kogake. For your last slots you'll want Fury, which will increase your attack speed from 1.17 to 1.87, giving you quite a lot more punches and kicks in a shorter time frame. Toss on Sundering Strike for some nice armor-piercing elemental damage that you'll always have on. Lastly, equip one of 3 Bane mods depending on the faction you're fighting for a 30% increase in damage. If you're fighting Corrupted in the Void, then you should swap this mod out for an elemental damage mod, most likely North Wind or one of the 3 I mentioned earlier. Okay, now let's look at some variations to this build. In order to fit an additional elemental mod such as North Wind or any of the others into that last mod slot, you'd have to use 2 additional Forma, making this a 3 Forma build. Is it worth the effort? Well, I guess if you don't mind spending the Forma and time, it could be. But for most of you, and myself included, I think this one Forma build will do perfectly fine with minimal difference in damage. Some mods I don't think are worth it are Melee Channel and Reach. Melee Channel is by no means bad, but for a weapon like the Kogake, you'd be better off having higher sustained damage rather than a moderate burst to a single target. Not to mention time spent using abilities to cap the charge meter, which could otherwise be used introducing your fists to enemies' faces. Reach would do very little for the Kogake, as they are a single target melee weapon and they have a small base range anyway. This mod is good for some weapons, but for the Kogake it would be a waste of 7 mod capacity. Alright everyone, that concludes the build segment of my video. Before I get to the action, I just want to mention that the procrastinators are still looking for dedicated and social players. I'm one of the warlords, so let me know if you're interested in joining. Also, if you enjoyed this video and it helped you out, please comment, like, and subscribe. There's a lot more to come.